Okay, I know what you're thinking, Dad. What is up with your voice today? Well, let's face it though, it's the fact that I feel really rough recently, but I think I should probably get into more details about this as soon as we're able to dive right into the actual part itself. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Mexi here once again, and I'm back for yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as always. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Kirby in a Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we have essentially managed able to 100% through everything in terms of Winter Horns by going for the forms to try to face off against with the familiar foe ever since in the Kirby's past, which is by the forms of King Dedede, and also we did manage to able to gather more of those rare stones by going for the forms of those, you know what I mean, more treasure roads to go through, and on top of all that stuff though, rescuing some more Waddle Dees in that for the sake of time. And also on top of all that stuff though is the fact that we realize is the fact that Alivel is actually got captured by King Dedede, so it's up to us to able to actually rescue him. So yeah, today for this video is the fact that we are going to be moving on to the 5th world in this game, which is by the forms of, if you can tell from the title of this particular world so far, and that is Originull Wasteland. And to begin with, for this particular world, let's dive right into the first level in this world, which appears to be by the forms of, well, if I press my A button, the wastes where life began. So yeah, because as far as I'm aware, this world is basically just a desert kind of themed world. So yeah, that's as far as I can usually try to describe about this particular world itself. So yeah, if you're probably wondering why my voice is actually getting really rough around the edges, funny forms of today, is because unfortunately it's the fact that I've managed to get myself COVID positive. So as a result though, yeah, it really sucks if you ask me, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, yeah, it's gonna be the most annoying aspect of the forms of this year so far. In fact, dare I say is the fact that this might actually be one of the worst aspects of the forms of this year so far for me, because since I've now got myself COVID positive, so that means I still need to get plenty of rests here and there. Especially noticeable, it doesn't help about the fact that, well, I've managed able to come across into ourselves quite a number of things when it comes to COVID positive. So as a result though, stuff like headaches, as well as the forms of blocked nose, bad coughs, sore throats, and you name the rest. So, and occasionally throat up every once in a while, which is not that great if you ask me, especially noticeable because I do apologize about the fact of how this is happening because, well, I have to basically stay put, so, which is probably for the best, because obviously I was originally originally I was expecting to be able to try to watch Sonic the Hedgehog 2 the movie on the cinema again, but since that I've already seen it ever since on the 1st of April, and I was originally trying to able to watch it for the second time, but unfortunately the second time run through is not going to happen just because of how, like I said, I've got COVID positive, so that really sucks if you ask me. So despite the fact that I've got myself COVID vaccinated ever since in about a year ago almost, so yeah, it really does feels like the worst day I've ever come across into myself. So there's also short things worth noting for is the fact that today's day is of course the 15th of April today, in this case in 2022 today. So as a result though, that it's essentially a Good Friday. Well, I would say it's not a Good Friday actually from my perspective view. So yeah, it really does feel like this is actually one of the worst days I've ever come across, along with the forms of let's just say the 4th of March in a year ago, because if you do not know, it's the fact that back in the forms of being the 4th of March, I've managed able to go across into a kidney stone problem. So because of that though, yeah, it does feel a little bit more of a, well, the worst thing has ever happened to me though, after the events of, well, some good days for that particular 2022 year so far, but I will say this right now, that I decided able to change my mind when it comes to the forms of my overall experiences so far when it comes to 2022. I do think it's a pretty mediocre year so far, just because, well, in addition about the fact that since I've got myself, you know what I mean, the COVID positive and all that stuff though, and also, if you remember from our Let's Play of Yoshi's Crafted World, back in the forms of in 2020, That basically does the fact that I still managed to able to actually have myself a bit of a cocky throat and also just very, very ill in general. So as a result though, yeah, it's just the fact the matter is though, is the fact that every time whenever I felt a bit rough or anything else like that, my voice is actually getting very, very awkward. But hopefully until the next few days, I'm hoping anyway, that I'll make myself a lot more better. Especially noticeable about the fact that, well, specifically until this weekend, that I was supposed to be able to actually expected to able to go back onto Mario Party 8 at some point. Well, as a result though, I'm very not looking forward to the next board because, well, you know what I mean, because, you know, I think I'll explain more details about that until tomorrow, so... Anyways, let's go over here and then just try to able to face off against with this particular mini boss fight again. Except that if you try to utilize the forms of the ring mouth, basically you can able to take down this guy very easily. Especially noticeable that since we've already completed that particular objective, so at the very least we can able to actually just to go ahead and get that specific Waddle Dee in mind. So at the very least that's that. So yeah, like I said before, that today's day is of course the 15th of April today, in this case of 2022 today. So a few interesting things has been happened for the sake of the forms of the past few days or something like that. That is the fact that, well, first things first though, is the fact that recently we got ourselves a new trailer for the sake of the forms of the new tour, for the sake of the forms of Mario Kart Tour event. That is going to be taking place in Netherlands, which... fundamentally speaking, if I recall correctly, it's going to be called Astrodon Drift track, which as far as I'm aware is the fact that this place is going to be filled to the brim with those windmills, as well as a whole bunch of colorful flowers and all that stuff though, which, come on, what do you expect? It's actually based off from Netherlands, which, gotta think about it, I think that particular track alone, it does kind of reminds me of the forms of Windmillville board from the likes of Mario Party 7, except the biggest difference is this time is the fact that it's basically a racetrack rather than just the actual main party board. So, yeah, that was worth mentioning. And I think we're actually getting ourselves 2 new cosmetic characters from the likes of not only Daisy, but Rosalina as well. So yeah, it seems interesting to say the least, and I think that particular event is going to start until specifically the 19th of April, I'm pretty sure about that. Although, mind you, about the fact that on our different time is actually going to be on the 20th of April, so because of that though, yeah, to be expected with most, you know, different time zones, in particular for the sake of other regions worth noting for, so yeah, that might be some consumption, so... But yeah, I do apologize for that particular sniffy nose, as you probably already hear from my commentary, because like I said, now it just felt very, very rough at this point, which I know you guys are probably thinking, get some rest, yo. Well, I am, but it's just the fact that the only annoying and inconsistent thing about it is the fact that, well, I was trying to able to sleep, but then most of the time that my nose keeps blocking. So because of that, though, it's very annoying and inconsistent with it. So yeah, it is so dumb. So anyway, and something worth mentioning as well is the fact that recently today, for those of you able to actually access to the Nintendo Switch online membership services, is the fact that recently Mario Golf for the Nintendo 64 has been recently came up today for the sake of the forms of the rest of the world. So you pretty much expect that you might be very excited able to actually revisiting to that. You know, some people might actually consider this to be a very, very good Mario Golf game at least, because some people usually still complain about Mario Golf Super Rush just because of the forms of Super Rush development or something like that. So, yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is going. So, anyway, and I suppose I should probably mention about this as well, I guess, is the fact that recently I've managed to able to actually watch the remaining parts of the forms of those My Little Pony Tell Your Tale YouTube series, and the most recent one we actually got at the moment was actually by the forms of the melody song or something like that. So yeah, I thought it was actually pretty cool by able to actually just you know, look up on that specific thing worth noting for. So yeah, that's as far as I can usually try and talk about for the sake of time. So Anyway, so now we're able to come across into ourselves a bit of a conveyor belt kind of syndrome and stuff like that. And I think that, yeah, you probably already noticed that we actually stumbled across a secret room. So, in this particular secret room is the fact that all you have to really do is the fact that in addition to able to try to keep on collecting more of those star coins in particular, for those if you really want to spend on something, and also you really want to go after those green shard pieces, because if you somehow manage to collect them all, then you would able to actually access to, let's say a jackpot. So, fill to the brim with the forms of those, you know, star coins, as well as the forms of other collectibles worth noting for. So, yeah, it should be worth a while, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, if you really want to get more health, and especially noticeable about the fact that if you really want to go after more of those star coins in particular, then by all means you can able to actually just go there, and then that'll be the best bet for able to actually just to go there. So yeah, that should be worth a while for able to actually just go in there in the first place. So yeah, you pretty much expect how this is going to turn out to be. So along with the forms of the capsule as well. So, and also some people worth noting for is the fact that whenever they did manage to play the N64 games onto the Nintendo Switch online membership services, is the fact that they always try to able to compare to the original hardware alongside with the Wii version and the Wii U version, because, well, as far as I'm aware, is the fact that the Wii U version has a bit of dull contrast, and on top of all that stuff though, it looks incredibly darker than the forms of how it does it on the forms of the original hardware, along with the forms of how the fact that, well, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that I think that's as far as I can usually try to describe it. So yeah, you probably get the idea of how this is going to turn out to be. So, and I think, fundamentally speaking, is the fact that, recently, is the fact that, this particular game I'm still playing right now, on the Metacritic right now, this game did manage to able to receive 85%, so that seems a lot more higher than I expected, especially noticeable after the events of, Kirby style allies. It seems to get, like, mixed reception sometimes. Well, that's only mainly because of how the fact that it does managed able to retain a bit of rehashed moments here and there, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, I honestly don't mind about Star Allies, but then again though, we'll talk more details about that until whenever we're able to save that particular Let's Play up until specifically next year in 2023, so yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So anyways though, let's move on to the next level in this particular world, and as far as I can usually try to record this world, or this particular level rather, I think this level's name is Searching the Oasis. So yeah, basically it's the fact that we're going to be able to actually just to traverse through certain parts of this particular stage, and also that, well, you probably already know what to expect. So anyways, let's go ahead and keep on moving along, so that way we don't able to actually just to keep on getting hit by too many enemies, as well as the forms of other stuff worth noting for. So yeah, I do apologize if my commentary gets a little bit worse and worse, just because, well, like I said, I just felt a little bit too rough at this point today. But not only do I able to actually stumble across ourselves the forms of COVID positive recently, but also Categris also got himself a COVID positive, and I was like, oh shoot, this is not looking good. Especially noticeable about the fact that since I always enjoy the Categris videos ever since in 2016 or something like that, so usually, relatively speaking, I'm just like, well, I hope you get well soon, mister. Especially noticeable that, well, assuming about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, I think both of us are actually having ourselves a bit of a rough month so far, specifically when it comes to the middle portion of April. So I will say that the middle portion of April is probably by far the weakest aspect of this month. Although mind you, the beginning's not too bad. Although except the fact the matter is though is the fact that it's bad enough that, you know, this year's E3 has been cancelled completely. So as a result though, it completely ruins the experience, especially since that there's still the monochrome version is just, or the variant rather, it's just I'm sorry, it's just, I'm just getting pretty tired of the forms of that stupid C word. So, anyway, enough about that, so let's go in and try to avoid that particular toxic liquid stuff, because obviously if you dare touch that, then basically you're able to actually lose a bit of health, so... Now I think relatively speaking is the fact that whenever I first got there, whenever I first time I experienced this level, that for some reason I just somehow managed able to actually miss out on quite a few Waddle Dees, but then I found out there was actually a ladder over there, so because of that though, we can able to actually just hit up, and then basically it's the fact that we can able to stumble across into ourselves not only another Waddle Dee from there, but also about the fact that we can able to deal with the forms of that particular dome thing until we able to decide to open up with the actual mouthful mode. So yeah, you pretty much expect of how this is going to turn out to be. So dang it, I have to climb all the way back up again. So yeah, kind of a nuisance, but that's okay though, because the actual journey towards it is not too far ahead. So yeah, with these little frog-like guys, you can't do anything until we're able to come across into ourselves the, let's just say a pretty useful mouthful mode, so we can able to actually save that conversation until for later. Oh, and another thing I would like to mention about this as well, is the fact that in addition with the forms of, the next tour will be up, for the sake of the forms of Mario Kart Tour, we're also expecting that there was actually going to be another Mii racing suit, which is going to be based on the forms of, Nabbit. So, yeah, that seems kind of, interesting, to say the least, or an interesting, costume choice and stuff like that. So as a result, though, that, yeah, we're going to get ourselves 3 new surprising things, well technically 4, so at the very least that's something to behold. So, and I get the feeling that unlike in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, or Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, that normally we actually get ourselves some pretty cool outfits based off on the forms of some third-party selections of games, ranging from the forms of Pac-Man, Mega Man, or Sonic the Hedgehog, but as a result though, that for the entirety of Mario Kart Tour on the other hand, that I don't honestly think that they're able to actually include those costumes like these, because, well, obviously that it's not going to be able to actually just to do that. So I don't know if they were able to actually just to do with the forms of Amiibo, but it might not likely. So anyway, so let's go and continue proceedings for this point right here. So in fact, that reminds me, is the fact that while it actually kind of feels like incredibly similar to the forms of it last 2 years ago, that relatively speaking, as soon as the Sonic movie came out for the likes of the forms of the first film, that before that E3 2020 has been cancelled due to you know what, and then that also happened on the forms of this year as soon as when the second Sonic movie came out, and then the E3 is cancelled by that time, because I have no idea why they managed able to restrict for that. So yeah, that seems kind of bothersome for me. Well, I still managed to enjoy the film, don't get me wrong, and I think I will say that I enjoyed the second film way more than the forms of how it does it on the first one, just because, again, I'm probably not going to explain more details, because obviously that's going to be contains a lot of spoilers, so I don't think I can probably mention that again, so anyways, let's go in and take a bit of a drill for just trying to able to actually get something from the ground. To be more specifically with those 5 green shards, that way we can able to actually open up to free one of those Waddle Dees. So at the very least we can able to actually just do it very easily and most more confident of ever. So now I get the feeling that particular mission objective is the fact that in order able to get that Waddle Dee, I'm pretty sure you need to able to get every single brown spots out of the way, because as far as I'm aware, that if you do find every single of those little dig-up parts for that particular brown spot, then that way you can able to actually guarantee that you might able to get something like star coins or anything else to be more specific. So yeah, anyway though, so let's activate the switch, and then that way it'll actually allows me to able to go into Water Mouthful again, and accept the fact that we can able to take down rather, that particular huge enemy. As far as you probably already know, is the fact that in order able to deal with him, that basically we'd have to spray a lot of water on him, so that way it actually just managed able to kill him, and in addition to that, you can also just manage to get rid of those liquid poison. So because of that though, so that way you don't want to get you know, damaged or lose the copy ability at the same time. So at the very least that's that. So anyway, so now we've actually completed the forms of searching the Oasis. So, and thankfully we did manage to rescue all of those Waddle Dees in the actual level. So at the very least we're not missing something. So that seems a good sign for, you know, as far as searching for stuff. So oh yeah, I should probably mention about this as well, is the fact that, I believe that Winnie the Pooh 2011 film came out for about 11 years ago now, for the UK version to be more specific. So, yeah, at the very least that's, yeah, happy 11th anniversary of, you know, Winnie the Pooh 2011 film. So, yeah, at least that's something as usually as far as, you know, celebration of those specific anniversary of certain films as far as I'm concerned of. So anyways though, so let's go ahead and keep on moving along, and then we can able to explore the next level, which appears to be by the forms of Alivel Mall staff side. So in this case though, is the fact that I believe once again we're going to be exploring around in the mall again, except the biggest difference is this time is the fact that we're going to be able to explore into like a sunset kind of vibe to it. So yeah, kind of think about it, because I think this level does remind me of a little bit from the likes of Sunset Vista from Crash Bandicoot for some reason, even though I have no idea why I just managed to bring this up, because apart from the fact that, well, as far as discussions goes, I think that's as far as I can talk about. Well, apart from the fact that, well, one thing I should probably mention is the fact that I recently managed to able to open up my window, so just in case I need some fresh air in, and on top of all that stuff though, just get this godforsaken stupid virus to go away, which I know for the fact that there are a few times that, usually because this is exactly what I mean, that usually for my commentary for the sake of today's video is gonna be way too awkward for this point today, because there were a few times that I don't want to let you guys hear my obnoxious coughing or Block's sniffy nose and all that stuff though. So yeah, and also I just drink lots, so that'll be my importancy when it comes to likely doing some portions throughout. So yeah, at least that's something as far as that's been concerned with. So overall, I think this particular day so far is the fact that it's gone by far the worst day I've ever come across into for the likes of this year so far. So, but hopefully in the future though, it'll start to get a bit better. Well, I'm not exactly 100% sure, just because, well, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that, well, I just felt so very unlucky to able to actually just to, well, come across into COVID positive, and then that's not a good sign. So but yeah, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. What was your worst day you've ever come across into for this year so far? Because for me, like I said, April the 15th for this year is by far the worst day I've ever come across into this year so far. Especially noticeable, it's bad enough that I think this year has gone pretty mediocre so far for me. So yeah, you pretty much expect of how this is gonna turns out, even though at the beginning of this year it might not be too bad, despite the fact that we have to still stick around with the forms of being cautious and stuff like that, which is understandably so, but most of the time though, it's just the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that's all I can honestly try to say about this. So but you know, you get the idea of how this is gonna turn out. So but anywho, so oh, really? Okay, whatever. At the very least we can able to actually fit some of those holes, so that way we can able to actually just to find some other secrets. So such as of course that particular Waddle Dee right here, along with the forms of those store coins in particular. So yeah, I think this place is gonna be filled to the brim with those mouthful you know, objects, such as you probably already saw, that we already come across into the cone, as well as the ring mouth, and hopefully we'll come across into the vending machine, you know, mouthful ability, so we can able to cut this rope until we're able to reveal not only the forms of the vending machine, but also another capsule which is should be in here. So hopefully we're able to actually see something inside it, so... But that won't be for a little while, I'm afraid. So, well, once we finish up with this particular level. So, it's also worth noting for us the fact that I do apologize for that particular lack of uploading schedules as well, just because of that. Well, you know what I mean, like I said, that the stupid COVID positive thing is actually not the best thing in the world. So, because, well, if that usually happens, then, although I'm hoping that it will not be as deadly as the forms of how it does it on other 2 or 3 variants, because, well, I just want to still live. So, yeah, because obviously I just don't want to let the actual, the thing get worse and worse. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and get that sword ability back after lose 1 from that particular spikes. So, but that's okay, because obviously it's just the fact of the matter is though I didn't exactly jump that high to able to actually just to make our way for the sake of some portions, I guess. But either way. So yeah, I think that's as far as I can usually try and talk about for today's discussion, I'm afraid, guys, because I mean, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that that has gone by far as the worst day I've ever come across into so far for this year, so... But wish me luck for able to actually make myself a bit better, so... Because, honestly, I'm just getting sick of that particular stupid C word all over again, and that's getting not only obnoxious and also irritating, but also it's getting really repetitive very fast, so... But anyway, though, so let's go ahead and deal with Bonkers right here. Even though it doesn't deal that nearly much damage for, you know, trying to able to convince to able to actually just to, well, deal some of the damage to wild Bonkers and stuff like that. Well, I get a horrible feeling that if that particular mission objective shows up, that usually, relatively speaking, that I somehow managed to able to use cutter ability, well, usually most of the time I managed to able to use the actual, the star projectile and stuff like that, so yeah, you probably get the idea of how that's gonna turn out. So yeah, I get a feeling that one of those mission objective is gonna be most likely, yeah, I don't think it's gonna show up, so until we're able to actually finish the main level, so oh boy, I know how this is gonna turn out, especially because, I somehow managed able to get the blueprint for Wild Hammer, so at the very least we can able to actually upgrade that. At some point, once we're able to actually continue things on for the majority of the forms of the 5th world, so not short stuffing, I guess, so anyway, so let's go ahead and, there's the actual clock right there, but the reason why we have to go into this particular little door over there is because, well, if we go over there, this is what we have to use the hammer for, to able to actually just to guarantee that in addition to able to knocking over that clock, but also we can now able to actually use the outside portion of the clock ring until we're able to actually activate the ring mouthful ability. So at the very least, that's a cool thing to worth noting for, and also just rescue that Waddle Dee from that particular chest over there, so I'll get rid of the actual sand dust, so self-explanatory for the most part. But, you know, you get the idea of how that's gonna turn out, so I've no idea why I said that exact same line multiple times, because, I mean, let's face it, there's not much else I can talk about, so, well, apart from the fact that we'll discuss more details, actually, gotta think about it, there's also another thing I would like to discuss upon, is the fact that another one of those Nintendo Switch games might possibly able to actually come this year, thanks to the forms of not only Nintendo, but also Bandai Namco are working on the forms a bit of a remastered game, like to be more specifically either the forms of, let's just say, based off of 3D action adventure game, so it could be either be summarized as in either Kid Icarus Uprising, or a Star Fox game, or an F-Zero game, or possibilities were quite endless, and I do apologize for that particular belching, I'm afraid, so... Oh, excuse me, I'm really sorry about this, guys. Especially noticeable because, well, like I said, that it's actually gone, you know, pretty rough for me, so... Anyway, let's not talk about that right now, because, well, relatively speaking, let's just say until tomorrow, that despite the fact that I'm not looking forward until tomorrow for the likes of Mario Party 8's next board, because I will say that, like I said, from the likes of the forms of Goomba's Booty Boardwalk board, The third board in Mario Party 8 will have to be my least favorite board in the entire game because of the forms of the nature of it. Well, nothing wrong with the actual theming of the board, but to be more specifically with the gimmick of the board. But either way though, let's not talk about that right now, until tomorrow that is. So, there we go, we managed to complete this level, despite the fact that we are missing one of those objectives left. That is something to do with the wild bunkers, which, yep, I have to use the cutter ability in order to do that, so... Ah, jeez, I'm a fool. Especially noticeable about the fact that I did not meant to able to get rid of that cutter ability to begin with, but luckily we can able to actually speed things up a notch by able to actually just go for the entire level in the fastest way possible, rather than just trying to deal with the fact that I think you get up to able to actually just to deal with the false the mouthful ability for like twice in order able to progress, so at least as far as I'm usually trying to guessing, so anyway, so there's going to be some more portals to be able to actually just to appear, so at the very least that's that. So yeah, let's head back in there again, and hopefully we're able to get that last Waddle Dee on that particular level. So but then again, I'll try to be as fast as I could, so just in case I can able to actually just to go ahead and well, you know what I mean, not to slow down everything. So yeah, I think that's all that counts. So yeah, I'm actually very surprised about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that with that Nintendo and Namco are actually working on something. So because of that though, that we'll see what happens during at some point, maybe during this summer. So that way we can able to tell if which one of those games is going to be able to get remastered. Could be either be, well, it might not likely be Chibi Robo, just because, well, after the events of that poor sailing records for the, you know, the last game of the Forms of the Chibi Robo series, which is by the Forms of Ziplash, just because not only does it not sell very well, but also about the fact that the reviews is not that very good either, just because, well, it just feels kind of generic for, you know, like a simplistic 2D platformer and stuff like that. Well, at least as far as what I somehow managed to give up on that game, just because the actual level progression, it feels very luck-based most of the time, because you can't really tell of which specific stage you want to go into, so you have to rely on the forms of that particular, you know, the roulette wheel in order to able to actually just to progress throughout. So yeah, that seems a massive step backwards what we had from the likes of the forms of, well, if I've heard that the GameCube original game, along with the Wii the Wii new play control version, only came out in Japan though. Like, usually relatively speaking, that the first game of the Chibi Robo might be considered as to be kind of an underrated game. Well, despite the fact that I haven't exactly watched that much Let's Plays of Chibi Robo as much, just because, well, I wasn't really into the series as much as the forms of the next guy, but I might be biased when it comes to the forms of certain preferences when it comes to the forms of other franchises I always adore. So there we go, we've managed able to complete that particular objective at long last, and now we need to able to finish the level, but you know what I mean, you can't just exit the level by utilizing the pause menu, so you have to able to leave the level, or to be more specifically, finish the level physically, so because, you know, it does kind of reminds me of the forms of trying to get the special stage keys from the likes of in Sonic Advance 3, except the fact that the biggest difference is there. Although, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that thankfully the level design in Kirby and the Forgotten Land is actually a tad easier than the forms of how it does it on that, you know what I mean, with the level design in Sonic Advance 3 might actually be my least favorite in terms of the forms of the Sonic Advance trilogy of games, just because the level design is actually going to be, well, convoluted and jumbled, so yeah, you pretty much expected about the fact that if you follow for our Let's Play of Sonic Advance 3, you know exactly what I'm talking about, so there we go. So now we've actually completed the third level of this world already, so I think we are down to, 2 levels left, which, fundamentally speaking, I think the next level, I think I should probably, save that, specific discussion until specifically on Monday. So, with that being said, though, yeah, I think we'll get the endings off here. So, join me next time for more of Let's Play of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and that is the fact that we'll hopefully try to wrap things up in Originull Wasteland by going through the 4th level, which is Moonlight, Canyon. So, see you guys until on Monday. Later, fellas. Hopefully I'll feel better soon.